Hello and welcome back. If you're here for the first time, thank you for choosing to tune in. So we are here with some stories. So let's get started with the Duke of Sussex, who will have a 3-day High Court case against the Home Office over UK security arrangements. And this will start Tuesday, the 5th of December, 2023, as the royal race row, as this article says, continues to rumble on, and we will get back to that. So this article says the Duke of Sussex is challenging the February 2020 decision of the Executive Committee for the Protection of Royalty and Public Figures, RAVEC, governed by the Home Office, when it ruled that Prince Harry and his family would not be granted the, quote, same degree of protection when visiting the UK. The RAVEC decision was announced after Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan stepped down from being senior working members of the royal family before relocating to the United States. Harry subsequently won the right to partially challenge the High Court's decision not to grant him automatic police protection last July, with lawyers for the Duke arguing the new security arrangements were invalid and due to, quote, procedural unfairness. And at the hearing last July, counsel for the Duke argued that he wasn't aware that the royal household was involved in RAVEC's decision to deny him police protection, after it emerged that the late Queen's private secretary, Sir Edward Young, and the Earl of Roslin, master of then Prince Charles's household, were on the RAVEC committee. Attorneys for Prince Harry claimed Sir Edward should not have been part of RAVEC's verdict. So the article goes on to say that attorneys for Prince Harry claimed Sir Edward should not have been part of the RAVEC verdict, considering there were, quote, significant tensions between them. Harry's application to bring a second challenge against the UK government over the Home Office's decision to refuse his request to pay privately for police protection was refused in a ruling this May. The hearing comes on the heels of what has been going on in the press concerning the two senior members of the royal family. So as I said, we will get back to that. So Shahid Fatima Casey, representing the Duke of Sussex, said in a written submission, quote, "The claimant's consistent position has been and remains that he should be given state security in light of the threat risks he faces," end quote. Prince Harry has argued the Home Office committee had, quote, failed to treat him as it treated others, end quote, in denying him automatic police protection when in the UK. Given that his security was to prevent the risk of an attack, the current case-by-case, in quotes, provision created excessive uncertainty and hardship for his team. The Duke has also accused RAVEC of acting, quote, irrationally and failing to follow its own written policies in changing the, quote, same degree of personal security previously afforded to him as a working royal. Meanwhile, the Home Office has argued that he was treated in a lawful, bespoke manner, in quotes, and that the risk of a successful attack had been considered. However, given that he was no longer a working royal and had relocated to the US, his position had, quote, materially changed. As we know, Prince Harry has spoken about this topic quite passionately, and he has spoken about the fact that him being born into the position that he is in, and currently he is 5th in the line of succession, he inherited that risk. So it doesn't matter if he or Meghan are senior working royals or the fact that they have stepped back. That does not change the fact that Harry himself is in quite a prominent position. So as we know, he has been pursuing this. Though he did, in fact, lose the legal challenge over his bid to be allowed to make private payments for police protection, which, by the way, is just so, I think it's so sad. He and his lawyers earlier in the year, I think it was about May, they wanted a judicial review of the rejection of his offer to pay for police protection in the UK. And this was after his security arrangements changed when he stopped being, quote, a working royal. And at that time, the judge ruled not to give the go-ahead for such a hearing, and the Home Office lawyers had opposed the idea of allowing wealthy people to, quote, buy security from the police. This ruling, refusing permission for a judicial review, followed a one-day court hearing in, I think it was May the 23rd when that story came out, May of this year, 2023. And at that High Court case, lawyers for the Duke of Sussex challenged the decision to reject his private funding for police protection when visiting the UK. When Harry stepped back from being a working royal in 2020, that meant that he no longer had access to his previous level of security. And as I've mentioned here before, why does that change? You know, he and Meghan have had a threat level assessment, which has been spoken about by those who are in the know. Threats that have been sent in, things that are quite appalling concerning the Sussexes. In my opinion, it was correct for Prince Harry to challenge how that decision was reached by Ravek, because they cover security for high-profile figures, including senior royals. And Harry's lawyer said this, quote, Ravek has exceeded its authority, its power, because it doesn't have the power to make this decision in the first place, end quote. They argued that there were provisions in legislation allowing for payment for, quote, special police services, and as such, quote, payments for policing is not inconsistent with public interest, end quote. But lawyers for the Home Office said the type of protection under discussion, which could mean, quote, specialist officers as bodyguards, in quotes, was not the same as funding for extra policing for football matches. So that's their argument. And the barrister for Metropolitan Police argued that it would be unreasonable to expose officers to danger because of, quote, payment of a fee by a private individual, end quote. Just share your thoughts on that. You know, we know that he is no longer, quote, a working royal, but does that change the fact that Prince Harry is a high-profile individual? As I said before, fifth in the line of succession, the son of a whole king, and you know, it really is conflating a lot of issues. And in my opinion, their argument does not hold the weight that they think. The Home Office legal team said that the Ravek committee had unanimously rejected the offer of private payment, and that it was a matter of policy to oppose the idea that, quote, a wealthy person could be permitted to, quote, buy protective security, end quote. So Mr. Justice Chamberlain ruled provisions for paying for police services, such as at sporting and entertainment events, were not the same as for specialist protection officers, quote, who are required to put themselves in harm's way, end quote. And he said that there was nothing irrational, in quotes, in Ravek's arguments about why its specialist services should, quote, not be made available for payment, end quote. So that's what the judge said. So it was quite sad that Harry did not win that case, which he had said was intended not to, quote, impose on the taxpayer, end quote. That is concerning security costs. He was willing to foot the bill. He did not win that, but last July he did win the right to also challenge what he regards as a, quote, procedural unfairness, in quotes, around Ravek's decision making, because he was not given an opportunity to make informed representations beforehand. So that's the case that will be heard on December the 5th, 2023, and let's hope for something good moving forward. So share your thoughts on Prince Harry challenging that decision by Ravek when they ruled that Prince Harry and his family would not be granted, quote, the same degree of protection when visiting the UK. Do you think that was a correct decision? Do you think that they are not taking into account the position that Harry holds as a senior member of the royal family? It doesn't matter about the working part, the position that he has, and his family and his children, who are, especially he and his children, who are in the line of succession. That does not change with the work arrangements. as we've heard spoken by those who have been privy to information about the threats that have been leveled against this couple, they themselves acknowledge that there does need to be protection for the Sussexes. That is protection where they have intelligence reports that are flowing to their security team, that are updated, that are timely. They need that. And also, this really does speak to the fact that Harry does want to have some roots down in the UK and wants to be able to have his family over there and to make sure that they have round-the-clock protection. And I want to say, hats off to him. He was willing to foot the bill. He did not want to impose on the taxpayer, as he has said. And we commend him for that. So share your thoughts on this. Do you think that Prince Harry should be granted the type of protection that he needs? And I think that he deserves someone of his standing, not only him, but Meghan as well. People who are of that degree of high profile in the UK. Do you think that they should be granted the level of protection that is fitting for individuals as high profile as them? Share that in the comment section below. I truly think that they should. This decision should be revisited, and I think it is not a good look for them, Ravik, not a good look for those who are opposing them having security in the UK. I just think it's just so sad. I think it's wrong for them to deny him police protection. He is just not anyone. He is not someone who they can just paint with that broad brush that he is a private individual. There is no way that they can try to use that argument for someone who is as high profile as that. So share your thoughts on that in the comment section below. He is willing to pay. And if he is willing to, I think that they should be able to treat his case, Meghan, the children, with the individuality that they deserve. So share your thoughts on that in the comment section below. So as the quote royal race row has been continuing to rumble on, I said that I would talk a bit about that. And my suspicions about how the coverage of this would go, some of them are being confirmed, because it's been interesting to see the way coverage has been going on. As many of you know, there was that huge story that's been making the rounds where a member of parliament, Bob Seeley, said that the UK should consider, quote, the nuclear option. He proposed an amendment that would remove Harry and Meghan's titles through existing legislation that stripped German aristocrats of their British titles during World War I. I've got to say that right there, the conflation of someone publishing a book, not even Meghan, it's not even Meghan's book, right? Though we've been seeing a lot of people trying to attribute the blame to Meghan. And why Meghan, by the way, right? But anyway, trying to conflate a book out by a third party to German aristocrats who held British titles in World War I. Isn't that just the epitome of the clown show? Send in the Clowns should just be the soundtrack playing at that proposed amendment. It's not even Harry or Meghan's book. And from what we've heard, a lot of people on Fleet Street, that is talking about the tabloid circles, knew about who had the concerns or conversations concerning Archie's skin tone. So that was not some exclusive material that just had to come from the Sussexes. I think people can count right now how many people have confirmed that they had an inside scoop on the correspondence back and forth, and people who are not even in the Sussexes camp. Piers Morgan, I saw a video where he himself spoke about having had some type of information about the letter. So if he knew, what are the chances that other people knew? You've even seen people having these interviews and commenting on what's been happening, talking about how in Fleet Street it was known for a long time who were the senior members named. So why this individual is singling out Harry and Meghan? Don't they have to do some forensic kind of study throughout all of the palaces to know who might have spoken to who? Because as the famous saying goes, your friend has a friend. Because that would mean that when someone knew of it, they perhaps confided in someone who they thought they could trust, and that individual also felt like they had people who they could trust as well. It's just so interesting to see, just so sad to see how Prince Harry and Meghan are being blamed for what was in that Dutch version of the book, and people saying that Harry and Meghan have to come out with a strong statement, first of all distancing themselves from the book. Second of all, denouncing what's in the Dutch version, coming out and defending Charles and Kate. People just castigating them because they have kept quiet and saying their silence was damaging to the reputations of the senior royals. Yet, we've just not been seeing that as a two-way street. We saw Meghan being accused of making Kate cry, and no one spoke up for her. That was just left to fester in the press till Meghan spoke up for herself. So what happened to, the never complain, never explain? So apparently there will be some crisis talks being heard that are not being labeled as a crisis, but sometimes are. So apparently there will be, quote, crisis talks that will be held between the palaces on how to tackle the racism row, as it's being put in the press, in quotes, about the new book. And they say that top aides will be gathering to create a battle plan on how to counter potentially damaging fallout from the publication of the book, which saw two major royals named as having remarked on the potential skin tone of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's firstborn, Prince Archie, prior to his birth. And the news have said that the gathering of the two households will see them discuss on how to respond, with officials insisting, quote, time and care will be taken before any decisions will be made. And they also said that they would be investigating on their end who could have potentially seen the letters between King Charles and Meghan, in which the names were allegedly mentioned. And that story has been covered in so many outlets, a lot of the British tabloids as well. And doesn't it make you wonder? And I feel like this is so reinforcing to the fact that Harry and Meghan have had plenty of opportunity to talk about correspondence between they and Charles or anyone there. Prince Harry did not in his book. Meghan did not in the documentary. On their end, they have never divulged any type of correspondence between Meghan and Charles. And we know that they've had plenty of opportunity, but they have never done so. And I don't think that they would ever have done so because even Prince Harry said when he was asked by Oprah who was the person who had discussed Archie's skin tone, Harry said that he would never divulge those names. And Meghan herself did not do so. She said that it would be damaging to that individual. So they had plenty of opportunities to name names, but they never did. And Prince Harry has also tried to emphasize, quote, unconscious bias. You could tell that they did not want to throw anyone under the bus. So why this is being framed as, Prince Harry and Meghan trashing the family, as is being put forth in this proposed bill. And the MP said this, quote, I'm not a Republican and I fully support the monarchy, but after the latest installments of the couple's feud with the rest of the royal family, I believe that the Parliament and the Privy Council should consider a nuclear option. The Duke and Duchess can be Mr. and Mrs. like the rest of us. End quote. He also said this, my aim is simple. If someone doesn't want to be royal, that is a decision we respect, but they should not keep the titles and privileges if they trash an institution that plays an important part of our nation's life. End quote. How did they trash the institution? They had every opportunity right there with Oprah to name names. They chose to protect whoever it was. Meghan herself saying she did not want to say who because it might be damaging to them. And Harry said he would never divulge the names even when Oprah pressed him. So what's going on? This meme right here. So how are they being brought into this? So as I said before, it's just a lot of clownery in my opinion. And it's interesting that the individual says that they have privileges. Yet here we know in the story, just before this, Harry is fighting for police protection for he and his family. The title was given to them as a gift by the Queen. And it is quite interesting. Once again, it's almost like dishonoring what the Queen would have wanted. She gave them those royal titles and they do retain those titles because they were gifts. They are honorary royal titles. They are aristocratic. They're not conditional on their status as working royals. And for them to invoke the World War I situation to try and take their titles away just does not make any sense at all. It's just sad to see the hate being stirred up against this couple. They did not write this book. Harry had a book called Spare. He had all the chances to name names, to throw caution to the wind and see what happens. But he never did so. He's wanted to try and rebuild a relationship with his dad. Meghan as well had been writing to them. They've been trying on their end. So this is just so odd. And I would like to know your thoughts moving forward. Do you think that this is fair? Do you think it is strange to loop in only the Sussexes, knowing fully well people all over Fleet Street knew who the senior royals were? They must have had a way of knowing about the correspondence, and not only knowing about it, but really knowing what was in those letters. And they need to check on the briefing and the leaking, because it seems to have come back in a way to impact them as well. So share your thoughts on this. I think that it is dishonoring to the Queen because she gave them those royal titles. We know Harry and Meghan have been made to give back Frogmore Cottage, that they've been made to give up patronages. Harry has had to, also give up his honorary military obligations as well that he had when he stepped back. But to try and take away their titles of the Duke and Duchess and on that were given to them as gifts upon them being married, I think that's just so dishonoring to the Queen. And it's also blaming Harry and Meghan for a book that they did not even write. As I said, they've had plenty of opportunity to name names, and they chose to protect the identity or identities of whoever had those concerns about Archie's skin tone. And to see those who've been hating on Meghan, it's just been so sad. Instead of actually asking, did this happen? And if so, what's the way forward? People seem to be more upset that she spoke about what she had gone through. It just seems like the anger is misplaced as well. I think once again that does speak to the power of bad publicity and just relentless negativity in press coverage. It is just such a pervasive, insidious evil. I feel the word is evil as well, to have people just consistently going after someone and trying to create this image and persona for people. How many of you have just heard people calling Meghan words like narcissist, calling her Meghan, calling her Pinocchio, and things like that, saying that she lies? Kind of sad. And also, I would like to call back your attention to the interview that Meghan had with Oprah. Spoke about the potential of Archie not being given his titles, and she said that they were having discussions on how they could have Archie not have his prince titles when King Charles became king. And do you remember how long it took for the children to have that which is rightfully theirs by law? It took them so long to get those titles, and it was like, what's going on? All the other grandchildren got their titles then and there, but it was like Archie and Lily were in limbo. And remember, these titles are not earned. They're not conditional. They are there because you are born into it. So it's interesting that it took a back and forth for the children to get that which was rightfully theirs. Remember, people like Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, people don't ask about what they're doing for the royal family. They just have their titles, right? But you'd find people saying, oh, because Archie and Lily are not, they want to conflate the children with being working royals, despite the fact that they are children and who knows what path they could choose for themselves. The titles are theirs by law. They are in the line of succession. The titles are theirs by birth, and they are legally theirs. So it's just been so interesting to see people discussing this whole situation in their own silos and not willing just to, kind of come out of your bubble and ask some questions and see what's going on. So, I could go on and on, but I want to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. I think there's just so much to discuss. And now share your thoughts in the comment section. So kindly, I'm requesting us all to keep the Sussexes in our prayers and pray God to protect them, because the press coverage concerning the Sussexes, and especially Meghan in this time, has just been so dismal. The lion's share of the blame that she has taken. If you saw how a lot of these outlets have phrased what's been covered, especially concerning the comments about Archie's skin tone, you would think that this book has Meghan all over it. It's her biography. It's her on the cover. Yet it's not even her book. And all you will see time and time again, if you Google the top headlines on the Sussexes, you will see a lot of negativity in the coverage, in the comments, and yeah, it just shows the power of press right there. If they try to choose to make someone out to be a villain, and what they put out there takes hold and becomes a kind of programming in the mind of people, it's a gargantuan task to uproot that type of mindset from people about someone when they formed an opinion about them being put in the press over and over again. And as we know, there is a saying, quote, repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth, end quote. So I'm always so aware when I see some type of coverage that is so pervasive concerning someone, and in this case I'm talking about Harry and Meghan, and how that can create that type of illusion of truth. And I know for a couple of you out there who are savvy, who don't like to have your news spoon-fed to you, who do your own research, you would know that some of these things that are parroted over and over in the press, you're able to see through that type of thing. You can see through the type of labels that are put on people and do your own research and understand what's been going on. But sometimes I wonder about those who don't even take time to understand the background of how Harry and Meghan have been in the family, what happened to them. And it really is incumbent upon those of us who know the story, who've been tracking it, to speak up and not let the hate drag us down to its level. So when we hear the lie, the big lies, people lying big enough and keeping on repeating it, trying to say that Harry and Meghan are whining, that, they've gone on this worldwide privacy tour, that, they lie, that they're the ones who are trying to bring down the royal family and trash the royal family, you have to counter that, because we have seen that lie being repeated quite often, and a couple of other lies as well. So let's fight that with the truth. Let's not sink to its level, and let's pray for the Sussexes and their family. Let's pray for them to be protected, to have that police protection that they need, and let's hope that the lies will not be perceived as the truth. So share thoughts on this in the comment section below. As always, before we log off, allow me to thank those who support this channel financially. To all of my Patreon, PayPal, and membership supporters, allow me here to shout out a couple of you here by name. A very special thank you to you. Rochelle Cherry, thank you so much for your giving towards my work here. I truly appreciate you, and thank you for all the times you also give through super thanks, for your comments and love, and for extending your kindness towards me on this channel through your giving. Thank you. I love you. Thank you to you, Regenia Means Bonds. Thank you for being a longtime supporter of this channel, for your giving and your kindness. I truly do say thank you. You have been such a positive, impactful blessing on my work here. Thank you. Thank you as well to you, Marcela Buresova. Thank you for supporting this channel through your giving, through YouTube. Thank you for choosing to accompany me here on this YouTube journey, for being so consistent in your giving towards this channel. I do not take you for granted at all. May God bless you. I'm so thankful to know you. And now a very special thank you to those who gave through super thanks. Thank you to Alma Andrews, who goes by the handle Alma Andrews AT42. Thank you for your continued support for my work here. You are so valued. Thank you for your love and encouragement through your generosity on this channel. May God bless you exceedingly abundantly above all you could ever ask or think. I love you, Alma. And once again, thank you to all who support this channel financially. Share your thoughts on these stories below. And if you liked this one, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, click that subscribe button, and also follow on Twitter or X for more informal posts. Hope to see you on there. Have a great day. I love you all, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a blessed one.